Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Is there anyone here that wishes to address this board with either an issue, a question, or a concern that is not on tonight's agenda?
I do.
Please stand, state your name.
Well. I'd say good evening, but it's not really because I never wanted to see your faces again. Nevertheless, my name is Nicholas Gross and I live on Jones Ave in the northern part of the town of DeWitt. December 11th, at the request that nobody in the town of DeWitt, after a campaign of lies, corruption, and misinformation, this board decided to award the DeWitt Fire Department the temporary fire protection contract for the northern part of the town of DeWitt, ending over a century of the East Syracuse Fire Department protecting that area. Then, on March 25th, the town supervisor lied through his teeth and insulted volunteer firefighters against the wishes of hundreds of DeWitt residents present in this building. You voted to dissolve the East Syracuse Fire Protection District. You all sat up there, smug as can be, rolling your eyes at every single resident in this room, treating us like insolent children whose opinions don't matter to you because you know better. Well, I'm here to talk about the result of your decision, and let's go over some of the facts. It has been 6 months since the DFD has taken over the East Syracuse Fire Protection District, and in those 6 months, the DFD's crew at Station 2 has gotten lost in Park Hill, disobeyed orders, called the ESFD to give them keys to a building they should have had, and virtually demanded to assist volunteer fire departments with structure fires while leaving the northern section completely unprotected. Luckily, those other departments knew better and did not entertain the DFD antics. Not to mention Station 2 being used as a showroom for a private business owned by a DeWitt fire commissioner, and the DeWitt Fire Department purchasing 3 new apparatuses from said company, because that's not corrupt at all, right? But now, a man died because now of your I know more than you decision. On May 5th, on Nottingham Road in the town of DeWitt, a car crashed into a man on a motorcycle. DeWitt was dispatched to the scene, but was unable to respond to both crews for the town of DeWitt being at a fire alarm activation on New Venture Gear Drive for almost 2 hours. That area was previously covered by the East Syracuse Fire Department. You have 2 crews for the entire town of DeWitt right now, instead of a volunteer fire department that could have been covering that call, so DeWitt could have responded to a deadly accident. That man died at the hospital. Fayetteville had to respond to that call. DeWitt was not available to respond to their own call. You all now have to sleep with that man's blood on your hands and being the cause of a now destroyed family. You were all warned that this would happen that night, and you chose to ignore the experts, promising us all and lying through your teeth that this would be better for all of us. And now you should all resign as you are unworthy of the offices you hold. You all now have an innocent man's blood on your hands, and how many more people have to die before you all admit you made a corrupt and stupid decision and decide to right this wrong?
Is there anyone else with a comment, question, or concern that they'd like to address the board with?
Yes, sir. My comment is concerning my assessment, my homeowner's assessment. What got me kind of fired up is this morning's paper had Onondaga County home sales. Maybe you saw that in this morning's paper.
Oh.
And the percent increase from 2024 to 2025. Town of DeWitt was not the highest. Matter of fact, it was only 1.7%. My assessment went up $32,000, which was the fourth year in a row that the assessment has gone up with no changes at all to my property. I'm just saying that I don't understand where is this across the board? What is driving this? When I'm seeing this in the paper this morning, and they're not even in the top 10 or maybe top 15 out of DeWitt as far as price increases from last year, average price increases.
I did not see this morning's article.
All right, maybe somewhere down the line at a future town, maybe the agenda could be on assessments.
Yeah.
You could let us all know, you know.
Again, I know we've hashed this issue out, but by and large, assessments are based on sales, market costs. And the reality of the situation is that assessments in central New York have increased considerably. And the average citizen believes that when their assessments go up, their taxes will go up. And in this case, everyone's assessment has gone up comparably. So I know I can only speak for the town of DeWitt. But when our tax rate has gone up under 2% for 20 years. So
Can I stop you right there? Compared to last year, was the tax rate the same?
tax rate went down last year. As the assessment goes up,
This year?
the tax rate should go down.
In general, we raised total assessments last year approximately 10%. And our tax rate went down approximately 10%.
What about this year?
This year, my guess this year is, I think it'll be very similar. Tax rate, our total
If that'd be the
assessment.
case, but if the tax rate stayed the same, we all realize that my taxes will go up.
Correct. And here's one of the issues. Now, see, we're only responsible for 15 cents for every dollar that you pay in property tax. And you come to the town and
But
we set your assessment.
You're the only outlet I have.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I understand.
Understood.
I mean, I could pray to the Lord, but he's not.
Understood. And so here's the dilemma. There are municipalities throughout Onondaga County that do not maintain 100% assessment. But if you go to, let's say, the town of Clay, their county tax rate is 300 times greater than ours. You, because of your 100% assessment, pay one of the lowest county tax rates. Your school district sets a tax rate. If the Jamesville DeWitt School District, you're in ESM, but the Jamesville DeWitt
You
School
don't have to
District,
tell me about the school.
But it-
I've been watching the news.
but they have multiple tax rates based on what town you live in, right? If a school district crosses multiple towns. And so if you live in the town of Lafayette, for example, and you're paying JD School District, you pay a 25% higher tax rate in the town of Lafayette to the JD School District than you would if you lived in the town of DeWitt. Because the town of Lafayette is not at full value assessment, they're at about 75%. And so under state law, there's what's called an equalization rate. And that rate is established by New York State, and it's there to maintain consistency in the tax rates, no matter what municipality you live in. And so there's multiple tax rates on all the towns for the county, and school districts have multiple tax rates. And the only thing I can tell you is that by maintaining 100% of the value of your property at a tax rate, you'll pay one of the lower tax rates. And if you moved elsewhere, you'd pay a higher tax rate and you'd pay the same amount.
Planning on moving. And I'll tell you another thing, I just, I hope you're right come tax time. When I look at my,
But the town of DeWitt, it should only go up about 2%.
oh, I might be back.
Okay,
My tax bill.
I'd be more than happy to sit down with you at any
You're
time
welcome.
and go through it.
You stop at the coffee shop and I can talk to you personally.
Don't talk to him.
Thank you, Wally.
Okay, anyone else in the open meeting want to address the board?
Actually, I just had a question about what he said.
Yeah.
Your homeowner's insurance goes up with the assessment, so while the taxes might not go up, we're getting higher insurance premiums. Is every time you go to 100% assessment,
Again,
you pay more taxes, but
we don't, it's
understand you
not,
don't
we
do it.
wake up and say, let's raise everybody's taxes or increase your assessments. It's purely based on market value, and you do have the right to protest or grieve your taxes through the tax grievance process. In the end, the Board of Assessment Review is independent of the assessor, and they will, if they feel the assessor is improperly assessed your property, they will lower your assessment based on a sound argument where you show comparable properties of the same characteristics as yours at a lower assessment in the town. So there are ways around it. And the only other thing I say, and I've been saying this forever, is that Central New York's property values have languished my whole lifetime. An individual could buy a property, and I'll just use arbitrary numbers. 40 years ago, you could buy a property at $75,000. You could work your whole life, and most people's property is their largest investment. And then they may retire and they want to downsize, go to a smaller property, whatever, and sell that and not have any real substantive cash as a result of living in that home for the course of a lifetime. If you go to other markets, New York City or Boston, Jersey, Massachusetts, Michigan, or whatever, you see people that buy a property and over the course of a lifetime, it increases in value tenfold. And they take that money at retirement and they invest it in other reasons, or again, they downsize or they leave it in the home, goes to their estate. But the bottom line is they built equity over the course of the lifetime in the ownership of that property. And I hope that these increased assessments start to bring a return in equity to the Central New York citizens, that they can finally start to invest in property and have that investment keep pace with other investments. And at the end of their careers or the lifetime in that home, have accumulated some wealth as a result of owning that property. And so the increase in assessment's not necessarily a bad thing. with that speech, I've made it and written it many a time, but I apologize, but it can be a good return on your investment to know that your property is increasing in value. Okay, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll
Supervisor Mike Malenko,
here.
Counselors Ruckdeschall,
Here.
Clehood. Here. Alex,
Here.
Fiorenza,
Here.
and Mannion.
Here.
Okay, we have a 605 local law on battery storage moratorium. Matt, you just want to give it a brief introduction?
Notice.
Or
Notice.
I asked the clerk to read the notice.
So, online, there's someone that wants to speak on the battery.
Okay.
storage.
We've got a couple folks here for this.
So notice is hereby given pursuant to the provisions of section 20 subdivision 5 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York and section 264 of the New York State Town Law that a public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of DeWitt in the county of Onondaga, state of New York on Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6:05 prevailing time in the town offices, 5400 Butternut Drive, on the question of repealing local law number 2 of 2024, enacted April 16th, 2024, as amended, which imposed a moratorium on new smoke shop uses and establishing a new Article 23.
23.
Thank you. And the DeWitt Town Code entitled Moratorium on Battery Energy Storage Systems, imposing a 6-month moratorium prohibiting the review and approval of applications and issuance of permits for battery energy storage systems in the town of DeWitt. A copy of said proposed local law is on file in the offices of the town clerk, may be examined by any interested person during regular business hours prior or past the date of hearing. And this was published in the Post Standard on May 29th of 2025.
Yeah.
I'll give a brief overview. As Angela just stated, this local law is doing two things. First, it's repealing local law 2 of 2024, which was our moratorium on new smoke shop uses. At this point, we've established regulations for smoke shops, so that section of code is obsolete. And that's being repealed and then replaced with the new moratorium on battery energy storage systems. Those are defined in the local law as one or more devices assembled together, capable of storing energy in order to supply electrical energy at a future time, not to include a standalone 12-volt car battery or an electric motor vehicle. There are some small exceptions for small-scale residential battery storage with a capacity of 80 kilowatts or less in residential zones of the town. The objective of this moratorium is to give us 6 months to put together regulations similar to the smoke shops that are going to govern battery energy storage systems. My understanding is these systems have led to certain fires in New York State within the last couple of years. So the town wants to avoid that sort of situation here and make sure that what is being implemented, whether commercial or residential, is safe for our residents and neighbors.
And so, yeah, basically, we want to have a little bit of time to do our homework, the research, what should and should not be included in the regulations as we go forward. And so with that in mind, we welcome any comment for the entire period of this moratorium while we put ourselves in a better position to craft a regulation regarding battery storage of electrical systems. So with that, I'll open it to any comment. Yes, sir.
To use some of your words against you a little bit here, I do own 2 pieces of.
I miss you, Ken.
I have 2 pieces of property in the town of DeWitt that may possibly be available for this sort of battery storage, and just trying to have this property be beneficial and be worth more as I age.
Yeah.
And I'm here just to try to find out what the logic is behind putting a moratorium on it. I mean, there's companies presently looking to place.
And that's the logic, is that for right now, we don't feel fully educated on how to regulate these systems. And so what is beneficial and we certainly want to encourage, right, as we go forward. So I think this board will commit that this moratorium is not a lasting entity and that we are all about trying to craft a sensible and intelligent code regarding these systems. I mean, we're open to alternative energy systems and solar, and we'd love to see us, we're the only town that can brag we're totally free of fossil fuels for electricity, right? I mean, our streetlights, our buildings and facilities, our water and sewer pumps and are completely alternate energy supplied. And so battery and solar systems, energy storage is something we'd like to get to. We just want to make sure that it's safe and
Is there a real question as to the safety of these?
There were 3 different BESS fires at facilities in New York beginning in May of 2023. And so last year, New York State took issue with this and they noticed that these things were happening and they actually promulgated a model code that can help municipalities like us put together local regulations to have that not happen here. We don't want a big, large scale fire because we didn't do our due diligence with the town board. We want to know that when we put together a local law, that it is going to be safe for people using it and their neighbors. And while it may not be the most unsafe thing, we don't know for sure until we go through and study it and do what's right, for
Are you looking at distance from other properties or?
those are the kinds of things that, the size, the distance, it might be proportional, right? To this, the ability of the battery or the size of the battery could be proportional to the distance of the property. I mean, there's just
industrial zones where there's still residential houses in those industrial zones. And so things like that, the town is very large and there's a lot of different things going on. So we have to look at the whole town so that we don't make a mistake and things are located where they shouldn't be.
And some of these model laws are the starting point, right? The state and NYSERDA put together a model code. And so that's the point that we need to look at, and we'll start there and see where we end up.
By December, this should expire and you'll have a code in place.
That's the goal.
It may not take 6 months. If we look at the model code and the town board looks at it, we review it and say, okay, this makes sense for our town, then it won't take too long for me to put that together and tailor it to the town, but can't take any chances with things like this.
Thank you.
But I would also just like to echo what Ed said, that if you have any input on, where you think it would be appropriate or would like to be kept up to date on where we are in the drafting of it. I know the planning department is interested in input from all sides, and the town board will be as well as we go.
I'm sure the one property they're already looking at, another property that they might look at. I'm sure whatever company is that I'm dealing with presently will probably keep in touch with me saying, this is going to be a go or it's not going to be a go. I just saw that there was going to be a moratorium on it, and I was interested in how it was being handled and why.
Yep.
So,
There's
not trying to create too much trouble.
there's no intent to not put this in place.
Difficult when you're getting requests in the planning and zoning office. They're unsure of what to do. So if they need the code to look at to be able to be consistent with that, with everyone.
Kevin?
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, my name is Kevin McCall, attorney with Barclay Damon. And I'm here tonight to advocate against passage of your moratorium as currently worded. I think the conversation we've had with Ken is most instructive and informative. I think that by saying not entertain any applications and not start on it at the planning board level, that sort of takes away what you'd want to have happen at your planning board. You've got a very active, educated group at that planning board, loaded with talented architects who know very well how to discern what are the appropriate setbacks in various different zones. What are the safety standards we want? What code should we enact? I've already worked with several towns in which we put into place the NYSERDA model code. Posing to that board, all right, what setbacks do you want? It's more difficult in rural areas where there's one zoning code for an entire town and it's all rural residential. It's easier in your situation where you've got multiple different districts. So I would say that, and another thing too is you can't just take the NYSERDA code as it existed then. Which is why I think you want to have a dialogue in the form of applications at the planning board level. Because the best way you're going to explore this is not just in a vacuum, but someone coming in and presenting a particular situation and say, we would like to put this project here. We're proposing a 500-foot setback from residential. We want to use the newest electrical code. We want to implement those things that the New York State Task Force on batteries decided in 2024. There's a lot of material out there, all of which the planning board can incorporate and use. You can use the NYSERDA model code as a template for how you process an application. But I think in each case, you've got to look to what technology is being incorporated. Those things that burned are 3- and 4-year-old technology, which doesn't seem old if you're talking about a good car. It's very old in terms of the technology that's out there now that controls these things. It analyzes the internal temperature, isolates batteries, notifies fire departments appropriate. So there's a lot that's changed since those original projects were put in. And so really my advocacy here tonight is not that you don't look at it. I mean, I talked to Alana months ago. It's probably my letter to her that started this process, saying, you know, we'd like to come in and talk to you. We didn't say we're going to show up with an application. We'd like to come in and talk and say, these are the locations in the town we're contemplating.
There's nothing that says you can't continue that conversation.
Well,
That would be
more
helpful and
It says you
informative.
entertain no applications, but then you shut down what that board can do. That's my only point, is the way it's worded now.
So I think the issue, and I don't want to speak for the lawyers, but I think the intent there is that in accepting an application, we have timelines within our code that we have to, the planning board needs to make a decision within a certain amount of time. And so by saying we're not going to accept applications, I don't think the intent is at all to say, don't come to us with proposals, that we would love to see where you want it, see how that fits, see where we can have the planning board discuss it and look in it in an informal sense. We just don't want that clock to start on our code of, okay, you know, with 90 days, the planning board has to have a decision because we're not going to have.
A guy like you could navigate that.
Well, no, I mean,
Against
to this point though, the town law and your town code says you've got to make a decision within 62 days of a complete application. I don't know anyone that's ever won an Article 78 proceeding on whether or not an application was complete, whether it's DEC or a town. And especially in this context, the appropriate thing for the planning board is to ask those additional questions and say, provide for us the information on your technology. What is it you're proposing for setbacks? What are the safeguards? Why do we know that your project is appropriate for this location? I think that discourse can take place best and first at the planning board level. And the best way to do it is to look at an application. Because it's not hypothetical. It's an absolute. And from that, then you can move forward to the point where you can adopt whatever code you want. In the meantime, that can all be handled in the context of the specific use permit. And your code is very broad as to what conditions can be taken into account when looking at a specific use permit. It identifies all possible impacts in a neighborhood and says that the board has the absolute discretion to determine what those impacts might be and whether or not the burden of proof on the applicant is met with regard to those impacts. So I think you have in place right now things to handle these, and they're not going to get crammed down your throat. And so all I'm asking is, as you move forward and do this analysis, which I completely understand, and I think there's a lot to absorb, you keep open the capability to work with the planning board, start the application process, and move toward a point where you can review these things in some meaningful fashion. and I will submit comments in writing. I would have had a client here tonight, but his wife gave birth 4 weeks early last night, and so
Congratulations.
he's a little occupied.
Congratulations.
I think that might be who is.
Then maybe that's who's on with me.
Yeah.
I hope he's not on from the house. Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Mr. Riley?
Hello. Can you hear me?
You type his question in that box there that you accidentally,
Yes.
you can get there.
See if I can.
Hello. I think you guys can hear me. Hello. Did that work?
I couldn't see that. I mean, it's,
Is that your client early paternity leave?
That's another associate of Nexamp, Alex.
Can you hear me? Hello. I'm speaking, but it isn't coming through. Hello. Yeah, maybe.
I think is he talking? But he's talking. Are you not on here?
Good.
He's.
Can you hear me now?
is he muted?
Speaking through. I can't, doesn't seem to be coming through. Says my microphone is working.
Oh, I think I did. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, we got you. I'm sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can go ahead and speak.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your patience then. Thank you, Supervisor, members of the town board and residents of the town of DeWitt. Thanks for having us and allowing us to speak here. My name is Alex Riley. I am the Director of Development for Energy Storage with Nexamp. Nexamp, I work very closely with Ryan McCune, who suddenly had to head off to the hospital, and so he can't make it tonight. So apologies that we're not there in person, but and thank you for your flexibility in letting me speak virtually here. Just prior to the meeting, we did send through a letter as well to a handful of you, just expressing our opposition to this proposed moratorium, ultimately for very similar reasons that have been discussed already. We really encourage the town to not necessarily respond with a moratorium in this instance, and we see that there are still several positive steps that can be made with the tools that are available today in addressing and evaluating these projects in a really effective manner. Ultimately, these projects, yes, have had some bad news, and unfortunately, there was some fires that occurred in 2024 and 2023. Those fires were the cause of those are very well understood now, and the outcomes of what that caused was very significant review by the state, which Nexamp was involved with, not because our projects were caught on fire or anything, but to understand what is best practice within the state on installing and operating these energy storage facilities. The outcomes of those studies was, determined that the systems that were put in place were It was ultimately a mechanical failure within the systems themselves, and that system, is not available today and not what is being proposed through our study, through our projects. Ultimately, we really encourage the town to reconsider implementing a moratorium at this stage. We think there are pathways to be able to review these proposed energy storage projects through the special use permit process. And there are like conditions through the New York State Fire Code and building codes that can implement these projects effectively and efficiently. Nexamp, we pride ourselves on the safety of these products and the safety of these systems. And we really encourage the further fruitful development of these projects in the town. Thanks for your time, and again, apologize for the online nature of this.
And thank you, Alex. If possible, could you summarize maybe some of what you said in an email and send that to the supervisor at thetownofdewitt.com so that we have some of these comments in writing as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that cares to speak to this issue? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. It's the pleasure of the board.
So I hear the comments and I agree with you, Ed. I don't think this is in any way a moratorium toward not allowing it or severely restricting battery energy storage systems. I think the idea is just we have nothing within our town code right now to deal with this in from a safety standpoint, from a just a siting standpoint. I was not reading this as a complete moratorium, as in do not come and talk to us for the next 6 months. I think that's actually the opposite of what we want. I do think we want input from developers, from companies like Nexamp that want to, are familiar with these systems, want to build these systems. I am concerned about actively accepting applications, and there's a whole process there, along with accepting fees, and I don't want to give anybody, they're paying now for an application for something that, hey, maybe in the end we do decide we're not doing a project that size in a residential zone. So at all, so we don't want to give anybody false hope or to lead anybody down a path, but I do want to have those conversations. So I would lean on Matt, our attorney, do you feel that within the way this is worded, that planning board and the planning and zoning department can still evaluate proposals, can still have conversations with the developers?
It doesn't say that you can informally speak to the planning board. I mean, I think if you went to a planning board workshop and you talked about a potential application that you have, you explain what you're looking for, that could be just as informative as submitting an application. The potential problem I'm seeing is if the moratorium is not passed and then a project goes to the planning board and it goes a certain direction, planning board does whatever they do, that might not comport with what the town board wants. And so we could have the planning board getting ahead on something, and then we have to backtrack later and say, hey, maybe this doesn't apply to the whole town. Like Max is saying, and Kevin, I use boilerplate moratorium language here. You'd find this in any moratorium that's out there.
I'm familiar with that.
But practically, we're not going to refuse your conversations and your help in getting us to where we need to go. You know more about this topic than many of us do. So I think we'd welcome that. I don't think that means we don't pass the moratorium. And like I explained to Ken, we're not going to drag it along and take as long as possible. I don't think that's the intent. The intent is just to be consistent. And that starts at the start, in my opinion. It doesn't start doing an action and then doing the code later.
As part of our process, if we asked as a planning and zoning department or planning board or town board, ask for interested parties to bring proposals that you may have, that you may be looking at doing in the next 6 months to a year. And we can incorporate those proposals into our conversation about how to write the code that we want. Would that kind of help that process? Like, we're not gonna accept them as applications, but
Middle ground.
I mean, effectively, the problem, of course, is that you'll lose a building year. If we go 6 months from now, you're not gonna start anything around here at the winters we're starting to have again in December or January. So you gotta wait for spring again to do anything.
For the town, it's not about 6 months necessarily, it's about 6 years, 16 years from now that we're consistent in everything that we do. I think that starts by having a code and sticking to it.
From my perspective, my issue hasn't even been addressed tonight. It's not in the code, and that's a fire review of this, because as we're learning, lithium-ion batteries burn faster and hotter than anything else our fire departments have been equipped with to handle as of late. And until we have eyes on by the fire professionals, I'm not willing to support this moving forward. We have a Freightliner off the coast of Alaska right now that has been abandoned because the suspected cause of lithium-ion batteries in the EV cars is burning so hot fire crews can't support the vessel. So it's basically on fire by itself. The crews have evacuated it. And I'm not willing to put that risk in our community until we've had a thorough review by the professionals that would be responsible for handling any of the mishaps.
The added commentary I'll give is that Nexamp is an excellent company, and we actually intimately work closely on our solar farm. It's design and engineering with Hugh Jones, who was a QA/QC officer at that company and everything. So we would welcome your input on this process, understanding that there are experts out there that know a lot more about this than us. And then the other commitment is that we'll try to do this in a reasonable timeframe. That it is, given the typical government schedule, expedited. How's that for covering your? But for as much as we have on our plate right now, we will try to commit to pushing this through as fast as we possibly can. But it needs to be well thought out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
This is just a question. If there's a risk of fire, there's plenty of abandoned quarries in DeWitt, or even part of Janesville Quarry that's still active. I mean, I don't know if this has to be in a specific place, the battery storage, but we have areas of just rock that are sitting there. Is there any could that be like specially zoned for this stuff, where there'd be nothing to catch fire?
Those are the types of things we're looking at. That's exactly, not all sizes fit, right? So every parcel in the town, there's 15,000 parcels, quite a difference in characteristics between neighborhoods and industries and zoning districts. And so at this point in time, I don't know that there's one size fits all in the regulations itself. There might be different allowances in different districts or different locations or different sizes. And so
There's a lot of research to do.
Yeah,
It all takes research.
yeah,
We're
and-
not experts as we sit here on these large scale battery storage systems. And so there's a lot to go into that before we start approving things that can lead to catastrophic events like we've seen.
Question. Are there applications that have been submitted and or pending, or are your clients looking to submit within this building season, or approval within this season, or is this?
I spoke to Alana, there is nothing in the planning and zoning department has not received any applications. They have heard letter and phone call, kind of, it's, people thinking about it. And that's where they asked, I mean, this is Alana asking, saying, we don't have the capability to properly cite this at this point, and she's asking for more time to be able to make a recommendation to us for where it should be as well.
There are design projects out there in the town, for the town of DeWitt. That I know. Thank you.
I'm sure the planning board will have recommendations too. All the architects that Kevin was speaking about that.
Yeah, we need to hear from them.
Need to hear from them to be able to put together the best code.
Okay. So do I hear a motion? Or do I want to
I'm willing to make the motion tonight.
have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. I'll call for a vote in favor.
I,
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried.
Doesn't carry as much weight as it used to.
All right, we also have a public hearing on no parking on Canterbury Road. Need the notice, please?
Notice is hereby given pursuant to the provisions of section 20 subdivision 5 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York, that a public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of DeWitt in the county of Onondaga, state of New York, on Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6:10 PM prevailing time, in which in the town offices 5400 Butternut Drive, to consider a local law amending section 18150 of the DeWitt Town Code to provide for a no parking zone on the south side of Canterbury Road on all days of the week from 7 AM to 4 PM, and a no parking zone on the north side of Canterbury Road on school days from 7 AM to 4 PM. Each of these no parking zones shall extend from Janesville Road east for a distance of 403 feet to a point of 158 feet from the DeWitt Shire Road. Copy of the proposed local law is on file in the town clerk's office and may be examined by any interested person during regular business hours. And this was published in the Pro Standard on May 29th, 2025.
Or anyone here that cares to speak to this issue?
Yep, Marion Fish at 170 Canterbury Road. I just want to thank you for making the new proposal, which I think aligns with the objectives better than the first proposal. So I appreciate that. Hopefully this will address the problem at least somewhat on the.
Marion, my heart just jumped. I thought I made another mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't. I appreciate that.
I did too.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Just curious, because we started this process, months ago, and we've been reaching out, and like code enforcement does this for Couple Hill, but not for Moses DeWitt. So, I mean, I've been calling, I live at the intersection of Canterbury and DeWitt Shire. And I actually have to drive through there every morning to go get my mother, take care of her on Orvilleton at the same time. And my answer has been, oh, if this car is parked illegally, you gotta call the police, where as opposed to like, there's always cars parked illegally every day, but no one is coming to take care of it. I mean, it's been a danger because cars pull in either the back driveway Moses DeWitt or the driveway in the house across the street where my neighbor hasn't been living, but a new family's moving in at 120 DeWitt Shire. So there somehow the JD School District has decided during COVID to reuse Canterbury as their pickup point, and the town hasn't done anything about it. So is this gonna be enforced? I mean, the signs are going up, but a lot of it, I mean, they're not enforcing it right now. I mean, those are blocked. Cars pull in, pull out without looking. I've gotten hit almost several times. I look at my window, I almost see people getting hit, and there's no shortage of parking. The parking lot that Moses DeWitt has is full, is empty. It's sitting there unused, but the teachers and teachers' aides are refusing to use it because they think they'll get blocked in by the buses if they want to get out of there early. So it's not a parking issue. It's a convenience issue that is turning into a danger issue that has just not been addressed in the last couple of years. I know it's not a secret because the police have told me they know about it. The highway department told me they know about it.
And we've been, I'll just intercede, we've been in constant communication with the school district regarding this issue too.
Who the principal and the superintendent are both retiring, so it's not a priority with them. Let's clear that.
And the problem, it goes back, and Ken might even remember, it started over in Cornwall in areas, and we put no parking zones there, and it just kind of migrated over, and we hope the issue ends at Canterbury. But that school has had a parking issue surrounding it for a decade. So,
Even though they have an empty parking lot available.
Will be new signs though, and that whole other side will have new signs that currently doesn't have signs, so it should look a little.
Well, they do have signs for parts of it, which those signs are ignored. And the response I got from the Duluth Police Department was, there's cars parked illegally, you need to call that in every time to ticket them. I've seen one ticket, but it shouldn't be, it's my responsibility to be calling in for people parking illegally daily.
it's, again, it's not my place to advise you, but your comments, I think, would be welcomed or best directed to the administration at the JD School District and perhaps the school board. Because it's not within our power to enforce employee parking within the school district.
But it is within your power to enforce parking on town.
On the street, and this no parking zone is.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm Chief Specialist. We have sent cars down there, we have ticketed, we have spoke to operators if we can find them. There's times that I call the sergeants, say, go down there and find me some cars, write tickets, and they go down there and the cars are gone. So it's kind of like a game that we play. So this is like, we had like 2 traffic studies down there, trying to see if we can resolve the problem. So I get your frustrations, we're frustrated too, because I don't want to have my cops go out and just write parking tickets all day long outside of the school. We have other things we have to do. So we're trying to address this issue this way, hoping that this will work. And I can, I agree with the supervisors. I spoke with the JD superintendent and I begged them, tell their staff to park in that parking lot that is wide open for parking, okay? And that got nowhere as well. So we're hoping this will solve it. I hope also on July 1st, we have a new superintendent. We can bring this issue to them and have them with new principal, maybe tell the staff to actually use the parking lot that's there for them. But if you have an issue, please do call, because there are times we go down there, and it may take some time for us to get there, depending on the call, the calls that we're on, but we will enforce the parking now. So, I want to make sure that you do know that.
Well, I mean, it's not all day.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
The problem
right?
is, it's like, when I'm going through there around 7:30, 7:45, to park illegally, at 3:00. People are lined up, there's already a car here on the north side. Parked illegally, but then you have another car, then the line of cars. Starting at the top of at the intersection of Canterbury and Janesville, ready to get around, and then you're trying to get down the other side. And, if there's days you really even can't safely get into the street at 3:00. If those cars weren't there, there wouldn't be double parking. And just no one seems to, I mean, who would be legally responsible for an accident caused by traffic? Would it be the school, the town, the individual?
Or if the emergency vehicle can get through because there's parking on both sides.
We agree, that's why we're trying to.
Yeah.
We agree with you 100% on all the issues that, when we did our survey, that's what we saw. We saw like what we assumed is gonna be the staff parking and all the parents, right? Our officer down there was like, you couldn't get a car through there if you wanted to. And cars coming down, they go into the DeWitt yard, we're waiting. And then as they were waiting, more cars were going back up into the line, so they could, they can get into the neighborhood. So it is a major issue, we've been taking some, not time, but sometimes it takes a bit longer than we want, to fix the issue totally, we were looking for somebody, but they pay their $20 fine and they just do it again. They don't pay their fine, and then, we're hoping.
Because then people will see that there is enforcement.
For Denver boot.
We don't have a booth.
I know. I paid the parking fee to buy a boot.
I'm hopeful that as we discussed, it is the faculty that is parking there.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that with a new principal, a new superintendent, that if we do some outreach in August before school starts and highlight there's a change from last year, this is a no parking. You are going to get ticketed if you repeatedly do it, you will get towed. And then hopefully with some kind of strict enforcement in that first week of school, if anybody's there, they'll get the message and they'll stop parking there. And I mean, that's the hope. And if it doesn't, for whatever reason, that's not working, then we'll evaluate what else we have to do, I think.
And we should have an SPO working there next year. So we should have an officer that can deal with it immediately. That's on the campus of the school.
I thought all the schools got them this year?
Not all of them.
Just the middle school? I mean, the high school already has.
But not, we're trying to hire, but we have two, we have two that we've hired so far. We have some other interviews maybe planned for, but we plan on having, most of the way, we know there's issues there with the crossing guard and stuff, so we know that's a school that's a priority. So it'd be great to have the SPO there to deal with the parking as it comes in, they can see it, they can address people parking their cars there, educate them, and then hopefully we're done with this issue. But we won't know until we know, But if you see a car there, please do call, we will, we will respond.
I've got pictures of my, in my.
No, I know,
Yeah,
I can tell you that there's two different Buicks, a white one and a red one, every morning.
we will,
Dan and then.
we can send a car down tomorrow morning.
And the gray took the first car that came out first. No.
Hey,
I didn't mean to take over your meeting, I just figured.
no, that's all right. We're good. Again, if there are issues in the fall with this new system in place, come to us right away. But we intend to work with the school district and the new administration, and we hope that this no parking zone, the way we've established, will work. It did work over on the other side of the street in Cornwall and everything. The problem was it just relocated the issue.
How long would it take, I mean, once you vote on it, which I assume is either, I don't know if that's tonight or at a special meeting, but how long would it take?
Wants to know how long it takes for the law to go into
When it
effect.
gets filed with the Secretary of State, we get a letter saying that it's filed and it's effective. We get the letter or it's 21 days, whichever suits.
Not this school year.
Usually it's not this school year, no, it'll be for next school year.
Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion from Joe, a second from Bernard. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. All right, thank you. All right, let's see, is there folks in the audience? Is there any other agenda item that's a priority to folks? All right, I'll just run down through here. Reappointment of the assessor. As you all know, the assessor's appointment is on a 6-year window of time. Al's appointment is up. It's time to reappoint. Okay, I have a motion from Carrie, a second from Bernard. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Okay, we have a constable request from CBA.
Go to executive session because it's contract oriented.
Yes.
Certainly can. I should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See it back down.
Yeah, sure.
And good to see you.
Thanks, Ken.
He's here. My fault.
Box Saturday? I think I heard some. Good to see you again. Take it easy, man.
Town board minutes of May 12th. I have a motion from Carrie, a second from Joe. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Yes.
There's some students that need some sign.
Oh, if you're a student, you need your paperwork signed.
I think they'll do it. Yeah, yes, thank you.
Let them go this early?
I think they're just walking out because everybody else is walking out.
It's at least torture them. It's at least torture them to make them listen to a couple more items.
No, you can, wait, there's still a number.
You too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it's,
We're not.
There's a few more items on there.
I should have, if I knew they were coming.
Oh, yes, thank
I would have went right down to the Juneteenth for our
I'm good.
I didn't know they were heading out.
Reenaction. I'm good.
Okay, so, yeah. Bernard, the Juneteenth proclamation?
Whereas on June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, over 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln declared all enslaved persons free, Major General Gordon Granger and the Union Army troops enforce the Emancipation Proclamation and free the last enslaved Black Americans, and whereas free from the bondage which immorally deprived them of human dignity, their long overdue emancipation was celebrated on June 19th, Juneteenth. And this year marks the 160th year of Juneteenth, the oldest known celebration commemorating the abolishment of slavery in the United States. And whereas this nationally recognized holiday is an opportunity to celebrate human freedom, reflect on the previous and ongoing legacy of slavery, and rededicate us to rooting out systematic racism that continues to plague our society as we strive to deliver the full promise of freedom and equality for all Americans. And whereas we celebrate Juneteenth, let us recommit ourselves to the work of equity, equality, and justice. Remind ourselves of the centuries of struggle, courage, and hope that have brought us to this time of progress and possibility, and ensure that the events of 1865 are not forgotten. And whereas this nation was founded on the principles stated in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is upon this declarative that Juneteenth stands to affirm and admonish that African Americans have contributed greatly to this country and the world, a people of strength, fortitude, and creativity who have brought to the world, rising to become some of the greatest musicians, artists, writers, scientists, legal minds, educators, brilliant business people, those who have served in the military and as president of the United States, creatives and politicians, religious leaders, civil and social justice leaders. And whereas the citizens of the town of DeWitt are encouraged to honor the great strides African Americans have made to learn, unite, and celebrate as we continue to work to create a more perfect union. And whereas Juneteenth is a day of reflection, a day of renewal, a pride-filled day, it is a moment in time taken to appreciate the progress and contributions made by African Americans to our society. And whereas Juneteenth celebrations take place throughout the nation and in the town of DeWitt, that include a flag being raised in honor and celebration of Juneteenth, with cultural performances, community service events, all done with the spirit of celebration, unity, and other meaningful observations that bring us together to celebrate and commemorate the freedom of all people. And whereas the town of DeWitt, through the visionary leadership of the town of DeWitt board and the intentional execution of Juneteenth, a day of celebration by the creative and engaged Department of Parks and Recreation, as a clarion call to unify, to unity, uplift, and inclusion, not by mandate, but because it enhances, unifies, and shows that the town of DeWitt is a global community with residents from all over the world, people connected, and a people of common vision, with an intrinsic purpose to ensure that all residents of the town of DeWitt are celebrated. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Town Councilor H. Bernard Alex, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth Freedom Day in the town of DeWitt, amplifying the national thematic of the year 2025, a reckoning, reclaiming the past, remembering Black voices, reshaping the future, as motivation to all people, especially to those who limited the possibility of their success, that they recall those who were once considered property, but through fortitude and faith outlived the expectation of those who believed them to be a cheap, accessible labor force, and that we will continue to march on till victory is won. Be it further resolved that this resolution be distributed and displayed at Town Hall, on the town website, newsletter, and otherwise publicized during the month of June 2025.
Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion from Counselor Alex. A second from Counselor Chiarenza. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. All right, thank you. And again, just, I think most people are aware, but we do have a Juneteenth celebration planned for holiday. That should be posted as well. And get the word out. Okay, town board minutes of May 12th.
I think we did that one.
Yeah, you did.
Did I do it?
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, the town clerk's annual report, 2024.
All right. I believe you guys all have one, but I made 2 copies in case anybody. I'm not gonna go through it carefully, but I'll just get some overviews.
Give us the highlights, Ann.
Okay,
It's a nice report.
thank you.
Very good, Rick.
All right. As you all know, my office does dog license, marriage license, handicap permits, hawkers, peddlers, hunting, fishing. And we do tax and water collection processing. Not included in here is, planning and zoning fees and recreation, which we didn't start until pretty much the beginning of this year. One of the highlights is, we've been working on our dog license, modernizing that. Kate really, led that charge with the, online renewals and email reminders, so it saves us on postage. She's also really went through and tried to take off all the old ones, contact the owners for, deceased dogs or customers that have moved. And that's seeming to work really well. So we're getting more and more emailed rather than having the mail. For tax collection, we continue to use the tax work system. And get savings from using the county system. Not only do we save software costs, but also mailing. They give us a deduction of $1 per property tax bill, so we only pay 11,000 as opposed to 22,000. Water and online payments, we take about 70 a day in the office, and online payment for credit card and e-checks have gone up about 10% and 12.9% for tax. So the residents are increasingly using our online services and credit cards. We launched the Civic Plus this year, which puts the agendas in minutes online. I'm really proud of the transparency that we have with not only the town board making it easier to get the minutes and the agendas, but also the planning and the zoning board also joined on. So those can now be viewed online, where before they would have to come into the offices. And we just started this year, but we started the process last year for Laserfish. We're making it mostly for planning and zoning records right now, so that people can view their development permits, and planning and zoning can get rid of their building permit records and give some more room to them. And also the comptroller's office just started putting their records in there for personnel, so they can have those at access rather than having to go down to the records room. The records room was reorganized. All of court records have been reorganized, labeled, and it allows for much faster disposition of all of those when they can be thrown away and shredded. Kate Werner received her notary certification last year, and I received my RMC designation, and I also was selected as district director for the New York State Town Clerks Association. Also we created the Sunshine Committee with a number of key employees, and I think that's increased staff morale and culture. For 2025, Some of my strategic goals are to enhance public communication and engagement of the public, centralize all the cash collections minus the court fees, update townwide policies and procedures, begin the Laserfish digital archiving, expand Civic Plus to more boards and committees, and achieve a zero impact department budget.
Excellent.
That is that.
I won't be here for the 2025 report with all that.
I can
Well,
email it right to you.
Well, no, the doubling of the interest.
Yeah, that is, I guess I didn't even mention that.
That's why I mentioned.
The New York class, we started putting funds into the New York class, which I call magic money, but it's not really. There's a method. Carrie could explain it much more better, but from our revenue, we've been putting it in that interest-bearing account. For 2024, it was only 34,000 because we started at the end of the year, but as of in 2025, I've already cleared my budget for both the tax and the town clerk. I've earned that much money and more in interest, so. Pretty proud of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Leaving the department in good shape.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Dan, you've really done a great job. I mean, Civic Plus, I know you recommended it, but it has made being a board member a lot easier. The way, you guys really pay attention to it, you get attachments up, and it is.
Other boards too.
The more people you can get it out to, if you can teach them all, but it just makes it so much easier to be able to know there's one spot to go to and everything is there.
Yes, I am still utilizing the E-code for the minutes because I feel like that's a much simpler search method. But for the agendas, Civic has made it a lot easier.
Yeah, you've done a great job implementing it and making it useful for everybody.
Yes.
How many in-person water bills do you pay a day?
The majority of them. I mean, we
We're
probably,
gonna get 70 a day?
yeah, like I took.
70 physical people come in per day to pay their water bills?
No, that's through the mail too. That's how many we process, not people, it's quite dwindling. We get a big stack, like Nora did like 94 of them today, that came in the mail, but over the counter, we took 8 to 10. I mean, so it's mostly mail payments. Not a lot. During the end of the month, it can be a little bit more, and then at the first, you get those people that wanna just take care of it right away, but. And then I was just gonna stay here to do my IMC conference update in Nistica. And I'm even gonna be shorter. My one highlight I wanted to say is that you guys are not paying for me to go to the Budweiser. Those others, I pay for those out of my own pocket, but I do get, the IMC has a cultural, credit.
paid for that.
Huh?
I would have paid for.
Oh, no, I'm
Going
not.
for the tour is one thing.
Well, yes,
You-
those are the other.
Right, yeah.
Or the
You
networking.
didn't pay the bar bill.
The network.
And it's processing too.
Well, I don't mind paying that, those parts are fun, I have fun with it, and then I also earn credit towards my education, because you can submit paperwork on it and get education credits towards my.
Like, did you go in the art? Did you go?
Oh, yes, up there in the elevator, oh, it was great, took beautiful photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wasn't that excited about it, but it really was a fun trip,
Yeah.
and met a lot
That's the
of
best part.
interesting people.
You didn't submit the gambling boat bill either?
No.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't go on there. I didn't even realize there was one until, so maybe next time.
Start the
I
count.
do appreciate you guys allowing me to go. I really feel that each one of those conferences gives me different benefit, one for the town clerk and then the other one for professional development. So not everybody has a board that supports them like that, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do a great job.
All right, that's my.
Congratulations on your appointment.
Oh, thank you. It's not congratulations, you get a lot of work. You know, I got
Well,
a
yeah.
big membership for 933 pounds. So. But thank you.
Okay. Oh, Ange, the web redesign.
Oh, geez, okay, so I'm back up.
Yeah.
I'll start by saying that New York State, we have to use the .gov website now. So I got in touch with Dan Bender, not manage it, and Revise. They first set our emails up, so everybody now, they can, whether you email townofdewitt.com or dewittnewyork.gov, that they will reach whoever you're emailing. Both of those are in use, and we will not cut either one off. To me, I think at least 2 years, might be longer, because we have the website, you have information out there, you have the whole website, you have.
Business cards.
Yeah, letterhead. I mean, it's a lot of places that you don't really think about until you have to think about it. And so the website, I haven't had a chance today to check it, but they were supposed to make the DeWitt New York, DeWittNY.gov live today, Friday. So you can, if you hit that, you should go to our website, also townofdewitt.gov, should also bring you there too. There's also some other laws accessible. Our website has to be accessible. We do have a free update with Revise, which is not so free. What I found out was some of the when I spoke with them, and they submitted this new sales agreement. I outlined the reasons I feel like we should still go with them. I think even if we were to redo it, it's gonna be at least 4 times the amount of what it costs to redo the website. And I'm hoping to sit down with each of the departments, get a committee going and look at changing the website. So, and here's proposal, it looks like the site map development and content migration and curated search would be 4,150. And then we also, in June, we have an amount due that's due regardless, is the 5,400 for annual hosting, support, and maintenance. So.
Yeah, the only thing I would recommend is that where you start is at a department head meeting with the web page where all the department heads, and if you need me to weigh in, take responsibility for their sections of the web page, and then leave it to them to assign a representative to the committee that you're gonna carry this through. But that way, there's responsibility through each individual department.
Yes, I agree. And then we have kind of discussed it. We've already broadly discussed it. All the department heads are on board.
Again, thank you.
Thanks, Ange.
Yeah.
And I will say, when you compare our webpage to other municipalities, I do think we have a very good webpage. That's so just go on and Google or search some of the other local towns.
I will need a motion though, if you want me to do that, to authorize the
Web redesign through Revise.
yes.
I'll entertain a motion. From Max, a second from Bernard. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, check warrants. We can do this in mass, correct?
Mhm.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the check warrants for May. From Carrie, a second from Joe. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Any town board updates?
I would just like to say that I really enjoyed the Pride Fest that was put on June 1st. The Girl Scouts did flag raising again. It was actually, I think, a little bit better attended this year. I'm hoping that we can build that and keep that going forward. Senator Ryan was there, said a few words. It was very nice as well. So I'm hoping that that's something we can keep going.
I was actually out of town and I got back in late that evening and it was on the evening news.
Yeah, we did have.
Great to see
Yes.
represented on there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And if they could connect. Because we didn't do a resolution for them. If I'm not
We
mistaken,
did a proclamation.
we did?
Yep. It wasn't read formally here. It was read at the,
Oh,
at the
okay.
fundraising.
Cause I was, that was on my mind. Yeah.
No,
Thank
it's the
you.
same one that we've been doing
Okay.
for years.
All right.
If you want to bring it here, though, you can do the same.
And if they could come, the Girl Scout troop come, they didn't come this year,
They came to the event. They didn't come to town hall.
right?
I,
Because we weren't in session prior to the event anyway.
no, and I think after speaking with their troop leaders, it's kind of hard to get them together outside of their traditional standing, troop meetings. And if they had their choice, they'd rather be there. Well, there's more community for them versus just here. So, I don't know if we can let them know that the request has been, that their attendance has been asked, but I don't know if they'd be able.
I just think they should be celebrated for
Oh, they're so good.
for standing up to taking that, just taking that position. As young people.
Well, we could award them, like give them I bet they would come for that.
Yeah.
Do a little award, a community. Does the town have any formal awards? that
We've done, we have actually
Certificates.
certificates and
Do
stuff.
up a certificate.
Could we,
Like-
okay, I'll reach out to her and get the formal spelling of everybody's name and then see if we can coordinate a date. Did that work? Is it too soon? This was enacted 4 years ago and they've been at every single one. So they were at when it was just a flag raising and stale weapons cookies until what it is today. Okay, I'll take that. I'll
If
take
you
that.
want to get me some information also, we could do a social media post.
Okay,
Like a little
Yeah.
thank you for your.
okay.
Okay. Any other updates?
Summer schedule,
Pardon me?
summer schedule.
Oh, summer schedule. I skipped myself again. I would like to set the summer schedule. Again, I don't want to go to, I don't recommend canceling meetings. Our 2-week schedule is aggressive enough. And when we fail to meet that schedule, we're constantly scheduling special board meetings. And so I'd like to start it early, and the stated purpose is, I've spoke to a couple of yous, is I'd like Brad Pinsky to be able to make a presentation or at least engage in a discussion with this board about the expansion of Eve's district. And I'm not asking for a commitment out of the board at this point. I just think Brad is far more versed and understanding of emergency response and ambulance services. He would be coming representing Eves. He wouldn't be working for us on that particular issue. But he can make it the 23rd in the morning. He cannot make it in the evening. And so if we're going to go to the summer schedule, which would be the second and fourth Mondays at some morning time, why not put the 23rd into the summer schedule? So that's my request. What?
Last year was just July and August.
No, I think last year we went early too. There have been years where we've gone early. We've been doing the morning schedule a couple years now. We used to do the cancellation of one meeting in July and one in August. That
Oh,
Or
it's
just-
fine if we want to go June 23rd to accommodate Brad in the morning, if we want to start the summer schedule.
yeah,
I think as long as it's 8:30.
we could establish as 8:30 good
Yeah.
for the rest of the summer.
30.
Joe, is that a good time to set,
Oh,
or is that?
let me just, I have it in my notes right here, what time summer camp drop off is. Please hold.
That's understood. You've got to work the schedule. So she's gonna want to move it up. No.
I can make Rob do it. It's just gonna be, I think it would only be an interference of 1 week, so we're fine.
Is 8:30
8:30 also.
8:30 good?
Is that okay for?
Okay, so 8:30 start?
Is 8:30 good for everyone here?
Yep.
I prefer 8, but I think I'm gonna get outvoted, so. I can say all I want, but I'm a realist. Or 7:30. We sleep for it.
All right.
5:30? I know you're up.
I'll entertain a motion from Carrie. No. I'll entertain a motion. From?
I'll make.
From Carrie and Joe for 8:30, starting the 23rd, carry us through the months of July and August. September will return to the normal schedule.
8:30 is better than 6 PM, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Gotta compromise.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. And again, if there's any volatile issues that we feel we need to push to the evening, we can schedule special meetings if needed.
July.
Yeah. Okay,
14th, right? That would be the July 14th board?
Yeah.
Okay.
28th, 11th and 25th.
okay. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session. From Bernard, a second from Joe.
Good night.
Hey,
All in favor?
I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Sir, when we enter